So, welcome back to LeadFoot TV. So today we're working on Sarah's Toyota MR2. It's just come back on the road for summer, so we're gonna give it a good service. We've got an oil filter, air filter, and a load of plugs. They don't actually have a fuel filter on them. It's like an in-tank thing that you can't change, so it makes it nice and easy for us. So I've got the car jacked up already on 2 axle stands underneath the sills. You want to probably get it quite high just because it is quite difficult to work under. So we're going to start by draining the oil out because the engine is still warm from us driving here. So we're going to get the oil out while it's warm because it goes thinner and then it's easier to get out. So we'll get under the car now and drop the oil, and then while the oil's draining we'll start changing some of this stuff. On the MR2, you do have to whip the tray off to get to the oil filter. It is just 3 bolts at the front, 3 bolts at the back. I won't film getting it off just because there's not a lot of room under here and you probably won't be able to see a lot. So yeah, 3 10mm bolts at the front, 3 at the back, and 1 either side in the middle. So I'll whip this off and then I'll show you where the oil filter is located. So we've got the under tray off now, and it was a bit of a pig to get off. A lot of the bolts were seized, or the captive nuts on the back were just spinning, so I did have to rip some of them off, unfortunately. So it's probably not going to end up going back on the car right now. But it unveils the bottom of the engine, so you've got the gearbox this side, and then here you've got the sump plug. And just at the back of the sump is the oil filter bolting straight up into there, nice and easy to get to. So we'll start by dropping the oil out. Sump plug is there, it's just a 14mm socket that you need for it. And there we go. Just crack it off. Then get the rest of your fingers. When you've not got a lot of access and you're doing this on the floor, cutting a square out the side of a 5-litre container is the perfect thing for draining your oil into. Like so. So while the oil's draining, I'm going to make a start on this top end. This brace just gets right in your way, especially for topping the oil up and doing the plugs. So we're going to remove the brace first, which is just a 14mm bolt here, here, here and here, and then that whole thing just lifts out of your way. It makes life so much easier. To get to the spark plugs, we need this cover off, which is dead easy. It's just 2 10mm nuts there and 1 there, and then these 2 plastic pins here are literally just pop clips, so you just pull the engine up, try not to drop them, but they are literally just little push pins, so they just push in, and then that whole cover comes off out the way. So once you've got that cover out the way, you just need to undo these push connectors on top of the coil packs. It's just a case of pushing the clip in. Yeah, so you just push the end in here. Sometimes they're quite tight. There you go. So once you've got all the wires off the coil packs, there's just 1 10mm bolt holding each coil pack in, so you just need to crack them off. Just have to remove that wire harness here, just because it's stopping these first 2 from coming out. So there's just a 10mm bolt here holding 1 in, and then a 10mm nut at the beginning. And then that harness lifts out the way like that, and then coil pack should just lift out then. Like so. You can see bits of plastic and stuff have all fallen off down here. So we'll clear that up before it falls down any of the plug holes. You just need a spark plug socket after that with a long extension. So that just drops in like that. They shouldn't be too tight. And then your spark plug should come out like that. They don't look too bad, to be fair, but we'll change them anyway. And then same again for all 4. Cool, so that's all 4 out. These are the new plugs, that's the old one. Before you chuck the plugs in, you want to just make sure that they are the same ones, so you can see there the threads are the same length and everything like that. So you can do some serious damage if you try and wind the wrong plugs in. So you want a proper spark plug socket with the rubber insert in it, and then you can just drop it straight down. You don't need to worry about gapping the plugs, because most plugs these days just come pre-gapped, unless you're like doing it on some kind of high performance engine where it has to be really, really precise. They're usually all right. So yeah, and then just wind them in hand tight. If they won't wind in with your hand, there's something wrong. So yeah, just wind them as far in as you can with your hand, and then just give them a nip up with the ratchet. There you go. So they're all wound in. You just want to get a ratchet and just give them a nip up. A lot of people torque these down just to make sure that you don't crack the head or anything, or snap the plug or anything. I don't bother just because I do it so much. I kind of have a feel for it, but if you've never done it before, I'd maybe suggest using a torque wrench just so you don't over tighten them. Cool. So we're just going to drop the coil packs back in one at a time. Like so, and then we'll drop the bolts back in each one, and then you want your wiring harness back in there too. Like that. The nut back on the end and the bolt down here. And then just tighten them all down. There we go. And then just clip your wires back on. You can't really get them the wrong way around, but they are alternatively coloured so that you can't. So you've got grey, black, just so that you can't get them mixed up. And then once that is on, we can throw our plastic cover back over, which is just that. And I will retrieve the other pin from the floor, and then just those two nuts back on the top of it. And then that is the spark plugs done. So next up, we're going to change the air filter. So you just want to unplug your air mass sensor, and then you've got a big Jubilee clip down the back of here. So it is a 10mm. Just turn that round so that I don't arc out on the battery terminal. So just loosen that clip off, and then that pipe should pull off, but I think it's going to be tight. Ugh. If it's really tight, you can get like a screwdriver down the side of it to wedge it, but that is off there. And then right down the back of here is little clips. So that little clip there just pushes like that. There's another one right down the back here where the battery terminal is. You can just see it there, and that just pushes away like so. And then once that is off, should be able to just and then just unclip this hose out of the stay there, and then that should just slide forwards and pop out, hopefully without having to take the battery off. Yeah, there we go. So just at the back there, the hose clips in there too, so you just need to push that out, and that is that. And then the air filter just lifts out like that. So seal to the top, big end to the bottom. So that's the old air filter. Again, not too bad. I think the previous guy that owned this car has serviced it quite well. So we'll stick a new air filter in now. Again, just make sure they're the right size, obviously. They look pretty similar, so we're all good. And then same again, so large side to the bottom of the airbox. There you go. So that goes in there. And then basically what happens is these clips here slide into some little slots at the back. You probably can't see them, but here, they slide into the back of there. So you want to get it in there and then slide them into there. Once they're in there, that's it located. And then just twist that hose out the way. There we go. It'll clip in nice and snug, and then you just push that clip back over. Same again with the one at the back. And then shouldn't move anywhere. You can plug your air flow meter back in and then pipe back on and then tighten it up. And that is the air filter done. Nice, easy job.
Put the tube back in the clip.
Oh, and the tube back in the clip. It's a good job Sarah's watching. So now that we've left the oil drain in for a little bit, we're gonna drop the oil filter off. Which you can use an oil filter tool for, or plumber's grips like I do. I use these just because I find them much easier to use. And then the only problem with having these vertical ones is that it's pretty difficult to get them off without getting oil all over yourself. When they're like at the back of the engine, like that, it's much easier to get them off without getting absolutely covered. So rag is always very useful for this. So that is oil filter off. I'll go grab the new one. Obviously you just want to make sure the new one is the same as the one that's come off too. So I will do that now. New one looks all good. You can, if you want, just spread a little bit of oil around the seal. If you've got it all over your hands, it's handy. And then we'll just wind that back up. It just wants to be hand tight. So that is that on. So once the oil filter is back on, we just want to nip the sump plug back up. Make sure that's nice and tight. Normally we would put the under tray back on, but because so many of the bolts are broke, we're going to leave it off for now and we'll fix it on at a later date. So now that that's all back together, we can drop it back onto the floor and get the car nice and level to fill the oil up and check the oil. Now that the car is back on the ground, nice and flat, you want to have it on flat level ground basically, so that you get an accurate reading for the oil level. You want to top it up. We have 530 oil. It's in a bit of a ghetto container because it's out of the bigger container basically, and it is in a nightmare place, this oil filler, especially if you leave the brace on. And it takes, according to the internet, 3.7 litres of oil. It's probably much easier to do that with a funnel than without. So we're just gonna check the oil. I think it's somewhere near there. So we're gonna just run the engine for a few minutes, make sure there's no leaks, and then let the oil settle for a minute or so and check the oil level again. Once you've ran the engine, it circulates the oil and it'll fill up the filter and everything, so that the level will change slightly. So if we run the car now, leave it for a few minutes and just make sure it's not leaking from anywhere. Okay, so we've ran the engine, we let it sit for a little while, we'll just check the oil level again. There's a problem with having clean oil, you can't tell where it is. I think we're about there, yeah. It's on the top mark there. So that is the engine service fully complete. that is all done. The only thing we have to do now is put this little brace back on. We won't bother filming that because you know how it goes. 2 bolts here, 2 nuts here, 2 bolts there. It's dead simple. So I'll bolt that back on now. We'll just give the engine bay a quick go over with the all-purpose cleaner from Autoculture, which is this stuff. You can get 20% off this using code LeadFoot TV. So I've mixed some up in a bottle, and yeah, we'll just give the engine a quick spray over, and yeah, just clean everything in the bay a bit. There we go. So yeah, that is the bay nice and clean. Literally a 2-minute wipe over and it looks miles better. So that is how to service a Toyota MR2 Roadster Mk3. They all have the same 1ZZ engine in them, so that they don't vary at all. So that literally covers every Mk3 MR2. If you found the video helpful, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We will have some more how-tos on the MR2 in the future. Yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.